Hello, welcome to week 10. This video will be working on the jazz blues chord progression in the key of F. So we're going to be building upon the blues that we've already worked on by adding some extra chords that make it more like a jazz blues. We'll be doing the voicings we've worked on, we'll be playing bass lines, and I'll also be introducing first altered dominant chords that is something that is really common in jazz. So first thing we're going to do is think about the blues progression that you've already done in the key of C and transpose that to the key of F. And just thinking about the broad idea of what it is, the 1 chord for 4 measures, the 4 chord for 2 measures, back to the 1 chord for 2 measures, 5, 4, 1 is the last 4 measures. And think about that in the key of F, the 1 chord being F7. The 4 chord then, when you go to the 4 chord, will be B flat 7, and then back to F7. Now the last 4 measures, instead of doing 5, 4, 1, this is where we're going to add in the 2, 5, 1 that we've already done, that we've already worked on a little bit. So if you take a look at the PDF document that's in Blackboard, you'll see this jazz blues form written out for you. It's still the 12-bar blues, but with some of these additions of chords and a few other ones. So take a look at what's going on here. First line is a little bit different than what we've already done by adding what we call the quick 4 chord. It's going to go to the 4 chord in the second measure and then back to 1. It's just a common way to, another common way to play the blues. So that's the first 4 measures, 1, 4, 1, 1. Then the second line is 4, 4, 1, and then this other chord that's kind of strange. And then the last 4 measures starts with that 2, 5, and the 1 chord, the F, 2, 5, 1, in the key of F. And then the last 2 measures, we're adding all those other chords that we had previously, but a little bit faster. We call this a turnaround. 1, 6, 2, 5. That's going to take us back to the beginning. So the chord that I kind of glossed over is that D7 flat 9 chord. So this is really, it's like a secondary dominant chord. It's a dominant chord leading to the G minor. So it's like 5 of 2 is the way that you would write that in Roman numerals. So we have that D7, and I've added a flat 9 to it. And this is what we call an altered extension. The extensions meaning the chord tones above the 7th, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. That's all 7 notes of the scale. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. So the 9, 11, and 13 are the extensions. These are extensions above the octave of the scale. There are 7 different notes in a scale, so if you want to figure out what those extensions are, you just subtract 7. So 9 minus 7 is the same as the 2. 11 minus 7 is the same as the 4. 13 minus 7 is the same as the 6th scale degree. So I'm talking about the flat 9. The 9 of D7 would be like the 2nd scale degree of a D Mixolydian scale because it's a dominant chord. It uses the Mixolydian mode, just like we talked about last week for the 2-5-1s. So instead of using just the natural 2, the natural 9 for that D7, I'm having the flat 9, just lower 1/2 step. So the extensions can all be altered. The 9s can be altered, the 11 can be altered, the 13 can be altered. They can only be altered certain ways, and it's really just out of practicality. So the 9, you could have a flat 9 or a sharp 9. That's the one that you can go either way. But the 11, you can only have a sharp 11. If you flat the 11th, it's the same as the 3rd scale degree. So there's no reason to have the 3rd doubled on top and call it an extension. So the 11, you can only sharp. The 13, you can only flat. Because if you sharp it, it's the same as the flat 7. You don't need to double that note. So, again, you can have flat 9, sharp 11, flat 13. The point is not to memorize it right now, though. you should. But really, the point is just understanding why you have the flat 9 and sharp 9, and why you don't have the flat 11, and why you don't have the sharp 13. So again, the ones you can have: flat 9, sharp 11, flat 13. You can have any combination of those. In fact, you can have all of them. And when we do that, we just call it altered. That just means it has all those different altered tones. All of these scales, or all of these chords, when you alter tones, they actually are correspond to a whole other scale. So this D7 flat 9 goes with another scale that has those notes in it. If you have all the alterations, flat 9, sharp 11, flat 13, you add to that the root, the third, and the seventh. That's all 7 notes of the scale. And that's a whole different modal system that we won't talk about until you're in improvisation class, maybe the second or third semester of improvisation. So we're using the modal system based off of the major scale. There's modal systems built off of all different scales, as long as it doesn't come out of the major scale modal system. So let's hear what this F blues progression sounds like.
Okay, so here's just the chords and the roots. I'm not going to do all the bass lines yet. So here's just the chords and the roots. 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Turn around. Back to the top. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Here comes the 5 of 2. 2, 3, 4. 2 chord. 5 chord. Now the turnaround. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Now here's what that sounds like along with the bass line. 1, 2, ready, go. May not have played that all exactly like what I have written, but it'll give you a couple ideas of how to do it. And now you can also do this along with the play along that I've given you for this. It might sound a little muddy to do all the bass lines and the chords along with the bass and chords that you have on the recording. But let's just hear what the chords sound like along with this recording. So let's try it. Practice this PDF. There's no assignment for this week, but
The quiz that we'll have in a couple weeks is going to include playing the chords and the bass lines for the Jazz Blues in F. So be working on this PDF. You don't need to play the bass lines exactly as written. In fact, it's better if you find some other things to do. It'd be nice to get some different rhythms happening in your right hand if you can. If it's hard to coordinate, don't worry about it. Just try and get the chords happening along with something in a bass line. And work it out, practicing chunks of this, so a couple measures or 4 measures at a time. The last 2 measures is going to be tricky, so that might be something that you just kind of loop and practice going over it over and over again, and see what you can do. I've given you this play along at 100 BPM, and yeah, that's the tempo I think would be good to be able to work on this. Practice it with a metronome ahead of time, and then work on it with the backing track. So have fun with that. Next week we're going to add to this, playing some of those same riff melodies that we've played before, but transposing them to this key, and then we'll be preparing for the next exam. So, all right, I'll see you next week.